Opticalia is and you will definitely find yours. You can have the full package of frame plus lenses starting from $990 up to more for the most fashionable options. Once you find a frame you like, your lenses will immediately be edged by our lab technician. Within 30 minutes, you will be able to leave with your prescription glasses and a huge smile on your face. How amazing is that? Visit us at the Tropic Shopping Center near Senegambia from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day of the week, or call us on 503-4411 or 7767-123.
It's Thursday, October 13th, 2022. Good morning from wherever you might be watching us from. Welcome to This Morning on QTV. As usual, I am Ansumane Sonyasi, and this morning, happy to have my colleague Lolly M. Camera back in the studio. Lolly, good morning.
Good morning, Esso. I feel good to be back.
Yeah, I understand you were bereaved yesterday.
Yeah.
Our condolence.
Thank you very much. I lost a sister-in-law. It was really shocking, but we pray that Allah, bless us all in the highest place.
And how are you doing this morning?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very much okay, despite being down yesterday, but I'm fully back, inshallah.
I have a problem with the producer of this program, We're going to fight. He brought me this fuller lady yesterday morning, and today again I'm having to deal with these people again.
Really? And you have a problem with that?
Big time. They're giving me bad luck.
Really? Esther, you'll be attacked.
Good morning, Mr. Ka.
Good morning. I'm glad to join you. I know it's going to be easy because the language of the Jolas is very easy to learn.
Really?
Once you understand the word ow, you are good to go.
He's wise.
And I'll just be going with ow, all the way today.
That's a wise one.
Well, we're happy to have you on this platform, Mr. Ka.
It's my pleasure.
All right. By the way, how have you been?
I'm doing fine, alhamdulillah. Yeah,
okay. I hope you've had your breakfast already.
Yes, I did have a good breakfast this morning. In fact, I cooked my own breakfast. And
wow.
See?
Yeah,
no surprise.
He's so different from you. You can't cook.
No surprises there. Who told you that?
You can't.
I'm a good cook.
Really? What can you cook?
Like the Fullers would say, I cook at everything.
So stop.
We'll put him to the test. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. We'll find out very soon.
Oh, yes.
All right. But, good morning once again, guys, and to our viewers. Continue to patronize Opticalia, our sponsors. They have great services that you definitely would love. So we go through our itinerary this morning. As usual, we do the African proverb. Today it is on leadership. Lolly will take us through that later. And then we will have a commercial break. I was talking about Opticalia just a few moments ago. Then the usual review of the most current issues or trending issues, if you like, that happened in the past 24 hours. And our boss, Mr. Ka, would help us go through some of these very, very important but interesting topics. And then we have a look at social issues. And on social issues, again, like we've been saying from last week, it's the biggest story of the year. And, it's still, we're getting new information every day.
Oh, yeah.
So we still talk about the, Akidet, of course, that is the cough syrup saga. How far authorities have gone in tracing some of these contaminated syrups. The Gambia Red Cross Society, Societies back at Sane would be here to take us through that. And then finally, we have a look at, it's Pink October, right?
Yeah, it's
so we have a look at C3G Cancer Foundation, some of the activities that they've been doing so far. And to help us go through that would be Soman Jai, head of Alchemy Telco and Independent Development Coach. as well as Professor Gabriel Ogun, consultant pathologist at the Edward Francis Moore Teaching Hospital, who is also a professor of anatomical pathology at the University of the Gambia. So this is what we will be going through this morning. It's a packed one, so we have for you.
Yes.
So do stay tuned. So Lolly, yes, as usual, the African proverb.
Yes, the African proverb reads, a good chief is like a strong tree with many branches. People like to sit in its shade. This is the proverb.
Yeah,
You like
this
it?
is talking about a mother.
Oh, yeah?
This is what mothers, they embrace everybody. Just look at the hen when the chicks follow the mother, providing shade, cover, protection. This is precisely for me capturing that in, essence that you have to be, as whether it's a person, leadership,
Yeah, exactly.
and leadership as well. You have to be accommodating, you have to be protective, and also make sure you feel that you are like mother and father figure.
Yeah.
But for me, it epitomizes what mothers stand for.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think it's more about leadership, like you said, being very accommodating. So yeah, I mean, like I said yesterday, most of these proverbs are self-explanatory, and so much wisdom, yeah. So they could be very inspiring as well sometimes. I think it's very, very much self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory, and I hope people get to listen to these proverbs and learn something from it, because the purpose is to tell people or remind people of their moral behaviors or what society is all about. So these are some of the things that we can always put forward and remind people that in societies there are things that it's good that you pay attention to.
Yeah, there are words of wisdom,
exactly.
and I also would urge the public, if they want to, they can always send in some, or at least get involved to say what you said yesterday, this is how I see it. I think it will make it more exciting also and more educative.
Definitely.
Because you would have people sitting there and listening to you, making your own interpretation. Like you said, it's got latitude. You can interpret it in any way that you may want to, but the essence of it is always captured, and these are words of wisdom. In Africa, we used to have, sages, people that are full of wisdom. In Wolof, some of them call them Kochi Barmas, and because their words, because in that era, it was era of poets. They used to go around traveling and talking to people, educating them, whether it's in their drum beats, the sounds of the savannas and all these things. These are captured in our folklore. So those are the things that come to, to these as proverbs.
Yeah, we still have some around people who are very good with these proverbs.
People are very
especially,
good.
Elderly people. I mean, most of them are really very good with these proverbs.
Yes.
Even President Barrow, when he speaks, mostly he uses, these proverbs a lot, especially when he speaks local languages. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing.
And I think in countries like Nigeria, they are very fond of using proverbs. In anything they do, they must bring in proverbs first, just to emphasize what they really want to say.
Yeah.
So proverbs really go
Even
down
in
to play
Gambia,
a
we just don't
good
take
role.
notice. But if you listen to our languages, they are very rich in terms of proverbs. And proverbs sometimes can have deep meanings.
Definitely.
They can throw a word or two to you, and you will not know, but they are educating you in some ways. And also, they are schools, these kind of, sayings.
Yeah.
It's indeed
So important message there.
yeah.
All right, I mean, we will go visit our sponsors, Opticalia, and after that we get straight into, the most important, one of the most important
issues,
segments of this program, which is the review of the most trending happenings in the country in the past 24 hours. So we'll be back after a short break.
And we invite more.
Opticalia is a leading European brand which is now in the Gambia. Are you looking for glasses? Then you have come to the right place. As a first step, we will perform an eye exam to ensure we prescribe the correct lenses for you. After that, you can select a frame of your choice. We have a variety of brands in stock, and you will definitely find yours. You can have the full package of Frame Plus lenses starting from $990 up to more for the most fashionable options. Once you find a frame you like, your lenses will immediately be edged by our lab technician. Within 30 minutes, you will be able to leave with your prescription glasses and a huge smile on your face. How amazing is that? Visit us at the Tropic Shopping Centre near Senegambia from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day of the week, or call us on 503-4411 or 7767-123.
All right, welcome back. Go visit Opticalia and you will love what you see. And we would also like to take this opportunity to invite all the sponsors to come on board and support what, I mean, in my opinion, is the Gambia's finest morning show this morning. And I mean, any other platform on QTV, we're open to business.
Oh, yeah.
So we go down to the most pressing issues in Gambia today. We start with Mr. Carl. Let me engage you on this. Yesterday, almost everyone was talking about just one issue, which is the ruling of the High Court in the State versus Boubacar Keita case.
Yeah.
An extraordinary ending to what, a case that I've been on for over 2 years.
It's tragic if you look at the sequence of events that encompasses this particular saga, considering, you know, the families that are involved. People tend to forget that there are, you know, this is a family of a breach. There are kids of this young gentleman that was incarcerated for 2 years, which was not acceptable to many people, and that is one of the reasons why it's invited a lot of sympathy. But by the same token also, we have to understand that the other part of the family also is part of that family. So this is the one family that is going through the motions of tragedy. So the young man may celebrate his freedom with his family, but at the same time, he is reflecting about his other family, that is his children as well, and the mother of the children. So that is why people must be careful. We must not go overboard in terms of this issue. They have to look at it in the context of being a singular family that is ruptured, unfortunately, by some unfortunate incident and issues. So they must try to find a mechanism of way of trying to, you know, resolve all these complicated issues, factoring, of course, you know, the children and other issues. For me, that is how I see it, rather than it being a celebratory issue. I think they should have to be open-minded. The families have to engage, get involved, because the damage that it will done to the children of this young man and the lady for that matter is immeasurable. And for me, I think the father of these children, the kids are very valuable and important to him. So I'm so in reflection, he will be sitting there and thinking in that context when the wider society is taking sides on this particular issue. So I think that is what they ought to do.
That is really important, because there are families involved here and there are kids involved, as you said. So coming down to the justice system, it has been 2 good years. He has been going, coming. What do you think of our justice?
Well, this issue could have been resolved for a very long time, but I think it shows the flaws of the justice system. I mean, the mechanism and the ruling is inexcusable. We cannot have cases, you know, there are pending cases. I heard there is one gentleman who is there for 14 years and it's not been tried. This is travesty. It's unacceptable in this day and age, when we have a lot of university graduates coming as law students entering into the stream of law. So we cannot say it's about capacity. It's no longer that argument is not tenable any longer. So for that reason, I think the government must take measures and steps, you know, to correct these things. These are human rights issues that must be addressed to redress the situation.
And in my opinion, also, I think the process was fast-tracked because of the public involvement.
At some point, yes. When the agitation started, people started seeing the injustices for the incarceration that is too long because of the adjournment upon adjournment upon
over 30 times.
That is absolutely unacceptable.
And some of the reasons that were advanced for these adjournments sometimes, I mean, were really
very frivolous.
But again, there's something I have seen that I think we should all be, you know, mindful of. I see people, you know, going online attacking the main victim, the girl here, and I think it's rather unfortunate. I know rape is a very sensitive issue. We all, you know, of course, have had our reservations regarding the justice system and how this case played out. But again, I don't think it is right to go about, attacking the girl and saying all kind of stuff to her. Either ways, whatever way you look at it, she's still a victim.
She was a minor as well. And
Yes.
paternity, people are confusing these two things. Yes, the evidence have conclusively established that Bob is not the father to the child. But that does not take away from the other issues that the girl may challenge. And we will never know the facts, because rape as an issue and paternity being the father of the baby, these are two distinct issues. And as a minor, maybe I'm not saying one way or the other that is the case, but it is a scenario that is possible, that somebody can rape somebody and may not necessarily be the father to the baby that is conceived. But that issue of rape has not been resolved technically. But in law now, Bob has to be exonerated because the whole emphasis was based on the paternity test of the child to establish whether, because other than that, there is no substantive evidence that can really link him to that. It's just the word of the child, a minor for that matter at the time, plus Bob. So they are the only two people that may know under certain circumstances what really transpired. So these are two distinct issues.
And talking about our justice system, I mean, I've had the opportunity to visit Mile 2 several times. If you go to Mile 2, to this day, unfortunately, you still have people who are in prison, I mean, for ages. And some of them have never been appeared before
Mile 2, unfortunately, is a colonial relic. It's something that people like me have advocated for to even, demolish or even kept there as a museum of, notoriety. Is a place. But for me, apart from the structure itself, the process which we are trying to address of the legal system, and the legal system is flawed in many ways. Even the sentencing tariffs have to be revisited. You have a lot of young people being sentenced to 10, 15 years just for smoking cannabis, for which most of these countries now are decriminalizing it. They have to address the underlying issues of mental issues and all these things about children. And the majority, the age gap bracket that is there, that are normally young people. So they must have to look at it and remind something. I'm sure the government will wake up and do something about it, because the call is universal now.
Definitely.
Everybody is aware.
The justice system really needs to be looked into. There should be reforms when it comes to our security sectors, especially the Mile 2 Central prisons, because it's not, the human rights, I think, are being violated there, because putting somebody in custody for years without any proper, justice system or trial is not really something. And we have, bodies here, like the Human Rights Commission here. I think these are some of the things that they should also look into and pressure the government to do something about it. And in your opinion,
relatively new body.
Exactly. In your opinion, I would like to know, do you think Bob can in turn file a case against the government? Because he has been in prison for 2 good years, and all of a sudden he has been discharged for no case against him.
He can make a civil suit against them and make claim for damages. That is possible. It happens in many other countries, so it's possible. But it is a case against him and the state, because this is a crime, and any crime is the crown versus the individual. So he can seek, redress for time spent.
Exactly.
I hope that members of the public would give Bob, his family, and the other family involved as well, privacy, maximum privacy. They need it. I mean, they need to heal.
We saw
rather than adding more fuel to the fire, they must remember
especially
that
considering
Bob
the kids
here is a party to it, because he have children. I think there are 2 children involved to whom Bob is the father.
And either ways, they're going to remain connected for the rest of their lives.
They cannot be a winner in this
and
saga.
for the sake of those kids, I think members of the public should now give Bob privacy, maximum privacy, so he can also heal
and then reflect,
and get back to society. But I mean, talk about mental health. I heard you mention that it's Mental Health Month as well. We've seen, young people organizing activities,
in commemoration
of this very important month. We know it's a major issue here as well. If you visit the psychiatric hospital at Tanka, the last time I was there, I mean, one of the doctors told me that people will take their family members there and you don't see them again. Our attitude as a society towards mental health in this country.
It's just lack of education and awareness. because mental health is a state of mind that anybody can go through.
Sure.
Sometimes it can be a prolonged period of depression, and then you falter, and we are humans. We are essentially emotional. All of us go through emotions. Sometimes you see somebody and you see the facial expression for a day. It's very happy, bubbly, jovial. Then another month you see that person is down and very low, is having an internal battle. And sometimes this can go to another level depending on a number of reasons. Some can be genetic, others may be because you abuse drugs, others is just state of mind or the circumstances you live, economic, and this day and age is very challenging. It's challenging in many ways. There are economic realities that you have to confront. Sometimes you cannot address them and they get to you, you resign, you recoil, you go into yourself, and then you falter into emotion of depression to the extent that you cannot come back. You become very weak and you need help from family to understand you. But sometimes we don't, and it can happen to even kids. You see kids behaving in certain erratic ways, then you cannot diagnose them, but they have some mental issues. So it's about education, it's about time we enlighten the people. We don't have a lot of psychiatric doctors. There are not many usually in most parts of the world, but we should try to also engage, educate, to enlighten the people. Because sometimes you see somebody mental walking down the streets, people add, they compound to his problems or her problem, throwing stone, pulling, teasing them, doing that, you know. These are not helpful, and the government also must help in terms of tanka, you know, capacitizing it, providing them with facilities and support. You can get out of it. A lot of people do.
Sure.
But you need the medication, you need the support, and you need counseling.
Talking about the support and government helping, I mean, like I said, I've been there several times. Mostly it's, you know, for coverage, and when you go there, you engage some of these doctors. They will tell you sometimes even the food stock we have here, I mean, the last time I was there, in fact, they were like, the food stock we have here cannot serve us for more than a week. And I just sat there thinking, I mean, this is not right.
They must
Definitely.
be provided for. Such institutions must be provided for. They must be catered for. But that is the role where you have the National Assembly as well. When we talk about government, remember we're talking about three arms. We have the legislature, we have the executive, and then we have the judiciary. So the functions are separate, but also they are intertwined at the same time. The National Assembly have a role to spearhead and push for these things as well, to ensure that those institutions are visited, what they need to, and also make sure that they are catered for to see. But it's a host of issues of failures that we are trying to address here. But it must be brought to the limelight. We talk about it. Sometimes it's difficult. The issues are very difficult subjects to address, but we have to bring it in the open and have a dialogue, conversation about it, and look at the way forward.
Definitely.
I think it's very important.
It is indeed important. You remember Sana Savali? Viral,
Yes.
you know, he's actually running a school, and that school, they helping people to reconnect back to society, people with, you know, this mental health disorders. They talk to you to at least calm you down. So these are some of the steps that they can also do to help the government, you know, fulfill its obligations. So supporting these people is really one thing, but family also is another big key thing here, because sometimes you'll see a person who is not even that up to that stage yet. They'll say he's mad, and they make situation worse for
Well,
you.
let me tell you one thing. We can all be victims of this. We can
Definitely.
all have. We are emotional, all of us.
Oh
we
yes,
go through the emotions.
I've seen
of
somebody
emotion.
who has narrated his story. He was just depressed, but thanks to his friends around him, he was able to reunite back to society, because they were with him throughout. They supported him. They make sure that he remembers things, he does things that he likes, and today he's speaking.
This
motivated.
conversation is important,
It is.
and we must invite institutions, we must invite personnel that can talk about this. We keep advocating and talking about them. If we don't do it, the wider society will not understand. I know we are using English here, would have been interesting also to put in the local language to reach out, but we must invite the institutions that are responsible for this so that they can articulate it better, because we are not experts in this area. We are not just having a general conversation about what it does. For me, it's very important. I am very passionate about mental health issues and also like to advocate for it.
And just to wrap up on
yes,
that, one very important part I think we're also missing out is the fact that you have very few, you know, doctors in that area. Very few psychiatrists. I mean, very few in this country. And I think government and the ministry needs to look into that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening this morning. India, the population of almost 1 billion, they only have about 500,000 or something like that. That's so small in relative terms. So you can imagine Gambia. I don't even think we have more than 5 psychiatric doctors here.
No.
I doubt it. I don't know the numbers
But the
for
last
a fact,
time I
but
checked,
I'm saying,
there were 3.
you know,
I
I heard there was one on the radio yesterday, Q Radio, Dr. What was it, Jain, and he was very articulated. People like that have to come out and talk to the people and explain what mental health issues are all about. Then we can appreciate it. We can see our mothers, brothers, sisters, when they go through the motions of mental health, then we can understand the symptoms and see how or what we can do. If it gets to a point where we cannot handle it at home, then we involve the authorities. You are saying that sometimes people are brought at the tanka and they don't know. They have to have structures, traceability. If you bring somebody, you must know where that person originated from, what home, and document all these things so that we can reach out to you. Sometimes it's good they come and get involved and join, because when somebody is going through certain things and see you, they can be happy. And that helps. There are a lot of things that help, little things that can make a difference in the person that is going through these things. And it can be any one of us.
Definitely.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carr, thank you, Loli. So we move on now, finally, before we take a leave of you. I mean,
is it the fuel saga or the Aki saga?
I mean, I'm saying finally, before the Aki saga,
fuel.
The petroleum
sector.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is an impending crisis.
Yes.
That is highly
and we have
political.
Seen a press release.
Very, very, very
By
you know, every time I hear this, it scares me, you know. Every time I hear this, it scares me.
Yeah, because the implications
are
immense. Yeah, it's a political commodity. To which, if there is scarcity, everything else is attached to it, because it's about movement, about everything. So I think it's an issue that they must sit with the oil marketing companies, OMCs they call them, and then see the way forward, because they're also claiming that they cannot run their businesses at a loss, and no businessman would invest at a loss. So it's about time that they seriously engage them and give a good listening ear to them and see how they can resolve it.
I mean, when I went through their press release, in all honesty, I think their reasons are genuine. Nobody wants to run a business at a loss.
Absolutely.
We can criticize them, we can say whatever we want, but at the end of the day, the truth remains, and the fact remains that you cannot do business, I mean, at a loss.
And they don't, what people don't understand, sometimes I hear certain comments who say they are greedy, but they don't fix the price of petrol.
They
must understand that is the prerogative of government. So what they are arguing, as you can see from the text, is about the dollar. The dollar is the problem here. When the government gives a rate, and this is the official rate, and then the other rate at where you can get the dollar is something different. That disparity is where the conflict
And they're talking about a $6 margin here, because the government is pegging at 55, and they're going for the real market is 62, which is huge.
In volumes, that's a lot of money if you are talking about volumes. And most of these have contracted loans, you know, to do their businesses.
Definitely, that's what
and they have to pay with interest.
Definitely.
So if they're running a business that is really not making, you know, their margins, then it's difficult to continue. I think it must have been very painful and difficult for all of them to come to an agreement. The fact that they were able to all come to an agreement is telling. It's telling that they are going through some
borom moto yi guys ñu ne Monday 17 they're going down, so
well, let's hope it doesn't get to that. Let's hope it doesn't get to that.
Or else man awma moto cycle
because every time it happens
Jakarta yi dañ lay jël essence
waaw ñoo dañ lay jël
waaw duy bëri so waaye yow sa bor yëpp Jakarta
waaw man moom suma bor waaw
man dama war a jënd benn Jakarta sax
yéen daal fu nekk nii moom
yeah, because I mean foog naa government dafa leen war a engage si nu mu gën a gaawee.
Definitely.
ñii moom no I mean soo xoolee seen liggéey it cuts across almost all sectors. So they have to engage them.
They
just have to sit with them.
ñoom daal partners lañ fu ñu jaar ñu waxtaan juboo yaa yi seet lan ku nekk lan because tam sooy dog tam dogit baa tax soo nekkee ci business you know da nga cee war a am loo ci jëriñoo soo gisee ne yaa ngi cee dellu gannaaw tam bu boobaa nga fippu te you can only
waaw te ñamoon nañ fii week ci passé ne le we've seen that bi moto yi li fi ne fuel amul dañ yokk a pass bi
Immediately. Wow. So,
am na ñuy charge 150 ba big camera.
No, attendant consequences yi moom dafa bëri.
dafa bëri de
li ci ëmb dafa bëri. So gars yi dañ war a waxtaan.
Waaw.
ñoom dañ war a waxtaan. Industry bi ak government bi, I think they should sit down seriously and look at the issues and then try to come to a resolution.
Inshallah. So just to wrap up, Hamna, I mean, you've been following the program all these days. I mean, this is the first time we're having you on the platform regarding this issue. So what do you make of the cough syrup?
The failures are self-evident from India to here. India government be owes a duty of care to us as well. Lu ñoo produce foofu dafa war a am a mechanism of testing balaa moo génn ñun tam su ñëwee there should a mechanism of testing boo xam ne nañ ko am. So this excuse that we don't have equipment is very, very sad, because I think if you look at Gambia, some priority just have to be shifted and they can easily equip them. Pour Mansa, I think they should fuel the FSQA with the MCA, that is food and living, so to make it cost effective, because I think they are almost doing the same things. They can put the directorate together, save up money and then equip them. So the failures are there. So they have to look at these failures so that in future they can be able to checking them, because without assurance, the Indian government is not taking this lightly, because they're having a multi-billion-dollar industry where they produce generic medicine. Generic moy, the original one, and they allow license to produce. So most medicine you can produce in India. So therefore, if you industry question the integrity of it, then that is a massive failure in terms of billions of businesses. So that is why they don't take it lightly. By the same token, the government should also not take this lightly. Not for the simple fact that I'm not new there, but for the simple fact that the larger population as well is not having faith and trust in the institutions and also the medication that they are using. Everybody is having second thoughts whenever you're asking, where is this from? Is this from UK? Is it from America? That in itself is undermining the whole trust and faith that we have in the world of medicine.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. I mean, definitely in Satewa program. Thank you for coming.
That was really insightful.
I leave you with ow. I had the last laugh.
We definitely, I mean, would continue to engage, people like him. I mean, it's always great talking to people like him. But again, be reminded you're watching this morning on QTV. We would take a short break, and then we would engage Mr. Bakari Sane of the Gambia Red Cross Society.
Espas Motors is the largest and most modern auto service in the Gambia. Espas Motors is the only authorized dealer in Chevy, Mercedes-Benz trucks, Mercedes-Benz buses, Kia, Ford, Futon Mini and Midi buses, Futon trucks. At Espas Motors, we have qualified professionals who use modern technology to diagnose and repair all brands of motor vehicles. Espas Motor services include auto sales, auto repairs, vehicle painting, availability of high-quality spare parts, towing services. We are reachable at any time. Call Espas Motors on 352222 353-4444 or locate us on the Bertel-Harding Highway. Espas Motors.
QMoney is back again with its easy-to-use, secure and convenient mobile app that allows you to carry out all your transactions. No matter where you are or what time it is, you can always access your funds. With the new QMoney app, you can cash in and out, buy credit, buy QPower, shop, make payments, and so much more. You can also send QMoney, pay bills, receive international remittances, and transfer cash to others. Just download the app from your Play Store or App Store and get started. For more information, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sinu Calpe. We innovate, others follow.
QMoney, the biggest mobile money service in the Gambia, has taken mobile banking to the next level. Now, you can link your QMoney wallet with your bank account. Yes, link your Ajib or EcoBank accounts with your QMoney wallet and get instant access to your cash anytime. No need to queue at the bank anymore. Transfer funds from your bank account to your wallet or your wallet to your bank account using QMoney Bank Link is the fastest, most secure, and convenient way to transfer funds between your wallet and bank account. For more information, call our customer care on 133. QMoney, Sunyu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Save up to 50% energy.
Welcome back. Be reminded you're watching This Morning on QTV. I am Ansmane Sonyasi and I'm here with my colleague Loli M. Camera this morning. So, like I said before the commercial break, Mr. Sane, good morning and welcome.
Good, thank you. Good morning to you.
Great. So, the Gambia Red Cross Society, in the wake of this Aki saga, I mean, you went out there and started engaging communities, you know, families, trying to recall this contaminated syrups. How has it been faring? Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, the exercise has been going very smooth and very nice. You know, Gambia Red Cross is a humanitarian organization that, you know, most of the community, especially in the Gambia, have confidence in, because we have been engaging in many RCC, that's the Risk Communication and Community Engagement Programs. So the community are definitely very much cooperative. If you look at the figures, it will tell you that how cooperative they are. We are not only recalling, but we are also doing education alongside the recalling. Yeah.
So you're doing simultaneously,
Yes,
recording and talking to. So what are some of the messages that you send?
Yeah, some of the key messages we are telling these people is that one of the habits that most of us are having in this Gambia is self-medication.
Yes.
You know, it could be one of the leading cause to this problem. Because like I will advise sometimes, yes, pharmacies are available every corner in the country. But our advice is, if you have a health problem, report to a health facility where they will see you and they will prescribe at least the necessary medications you need. Pharmacies is a business. If I'm running my business, it's like my great brother said, you don't want to lose into losses. So if anybody comes to you and demand for something, you just sell it outright.
Definitely.
But if you go to a health facility, a doctor sees you or a trained nurse prescribe for you, you go to the pharmacy with your prescription.
Yeah.
If you don't have those ones, he will tell you, honestly, I don't have this one. And some of these OCT, that's the over-the-counter medications, are not mostly prescribed at the health facilities, because they are not even available if you go to the health facilities. They are mostly not available there. Most of these drugs are imported for pharmacies.
That's really important. And we've noticed that these medicines have spread because the Aki have been discovered in regions like URR, CRR. So are you only centered in the Greater Banjul, or your team, you've sent a team to some of the regions?
WCR,
West Coast,
URR. The only two exceptional regions for now, I think those have not been affected much, is NBR and LRR. And then when I look at that, I say, because if you look at those two regions, although there are very few pharmaceutical operations around those two areas.
Okay.
So they are the two areas that are not most affected much. But the other, and if you look at the recall with the statistics that I provide, URL, I think they are having one of the highest recall of the medications.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe it will be shown on the screen.
So we're looking at 2,216 for URR.
Yes.
All right, that is for the cough syrup.
Yes.
And then promethazine, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right.
Yes. Okay. Promethazine,
Yes, 924, and paracetamol 5,532.
Yes.
That have been recalled.
Have been recalled. So is it?
That's a huge
it's
number.
a huge number. But because, especially with paracetamol, most of the time when people go for their routine immunizations, normally they will be advised to have some paracetamol on with the mothers. Yeah. Because what happens, if the efficacy of the vaccine sometimes is detected by some mild fever, so you don't need to report back to the health facility. So what we'll do, the doctor or nurses there will advise you, or the healthcare worker will advise you, give some paracetamol to the child, so that will bring down the fever. So you will see that paracetamol is almost a household material that should be kept by every breastfeeding or childcare mother.
So for how long will you continue this?
The initial phase was 5 years. That was the WHO who contracted with the support of Ministry of Health. But with further engagement, we are trying to roll it out as long as they are, because it's involved logistics.
Exactly.
And then we know the government is struggling with a lot of issues. It's WHO that has to chip in. If other partners could chip in, we can do it almost for a month or so that we can try it, if not all, but at least majority of the medicines could be recalled back, and then the society could be engaged more to understand.
Because I was going to ask, in anything there could be challenges, especially when you mention logistics. So, and we don't know for how long you're going to complete this task. I think now with your efforts that you're doing, like you said, other institutions should also chip. But are you reaching out to these institutions that you think can partner in this cause?
Probably we might not be the one to reach them as a humanitarian organization. Like we are doing the work for the Ministry of Health based on our human resources. It has a Red Cross. We have human resources everywhere in the country. We have the unreachable areas. We have volunteers there. So most of these volunteers that are engaged, in fact, we engage 1,000 volunteers. And most of these volunteers come within the communities where they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have that easy use of human resources. But with all that, like I said, it needs some logistics. So the Ministry of Health probably need to reach to their stakeholders or other private institutions that will come through the Ministry of Health, then to the Gambia Red Cross Society, and then we provide the services.
I have to say, I am quite impressed with the work you're doing. I mean, because in 5 days, I'm looking at the numbers, and it's quite, I mean, impressive. In 5 days, you've been able to record over 22,000.
And if I tell you, some of our volunteers are using pedal bicycles to try to reach to some households.
I mean, I know what volunteers can do.
Exactly. They
I'm a runaway volunteer.
So I know.
They can do anything for humanitarian cause.
But just briefly in the local language as
Definitely,
well, for our audience out there who may not understand English. Take us through this in Mandinka and then hopefully in Wolof as well.
Yeah, okay. Abaraka bake, comme mbadi na fanya bimba sirinja, comme nying kura min findira jang, kam akit idni wala mola jala muto ka bodami, ay na banka jala muto ñu fintindina. Yalla wala findira bango kan. And wo kata nyaadi le dindul ka borol menta ñu bor jimal, o dolle nada e nada tandi ko dolle problème so mi ko wala atna ñu dindul la sumna dula ñing kana problème so anda atna dindi ñama faret. So Gambia Red Cross Society nata e bula pour kata ka ñen dum mol kan ni ka kacha kanyum borol ñing ko mandinan kana ke murundina so that mo dol mi ma kay mata folo akana mantoro sabol ka. So wokono ya kata bakela nga dunda ko da jamal la kan ando nga bor jamal le fanan mutan. So nale fanan Red Cross dindol jalia ala lon ko e nata wala man na ku dola just pour que ñom mako len dron ñin do ko bol ñam pour que ñom mako lon pour ka je ko ci banko tankande ñami ko de la lord la Red Cross munede ka je ko hadama do mantoro kana laka wala nim mantoro la daka mi ala ko fana sa bondino aka nyaadi le o mu Red Cross la lord la de wala nam ba fimti kan kata yayola ando ñim do ko do Ministry of Health alla jada kende abunna nin WHO duna jada kende abunna wollen ter bulala wala na niaji be sa mo wilkilin volunteer ngolle ki sate kono pour que ñin do ko
o kuma yata bakele saying ila komo kanto e ko nal tatal bu kadan ka borol tadron baral ka kaccal fatan ka yamarol di e membe dente ñin kola comme kuma kan min bi alkamel fo molio mun kuma kan le wote
ya mo kan min fo yamaro a sembo borle min ko min pour mol sa katani sa soto don e kata loptano la min sujater yalla bana niaji fam man sa kunda e bun la loptan jata kenda bunda ma nyami e bana primary health care comme l'hôpital ndul mi gatara sade o docteur ol sode jele ne ka fe community health no so yo hani bita o bita o ya nu ya ji ko ate mala kunna do ate waji le ko ni data l'hôpital min batere ma fa ngala bu fane isamba won so ngamne ngata l'hôpital ni sa sade ba je se boro safenye mi ala ko mba tala na mo soto je ngana ta anyinen formation ba woy ni le katol tal so ba je o kato ni because ni boro jama wa bije kamil jeten ni dara l'hôpital la essential drug list dal man sa ko na fa ka fa mi essential drug list te la borol kamin ko man na bi jel ni borol jama bi je to list wala
o sa mo waral de
so e baajale ko comme business manol le kala business o samana and then
wafi
so ni do dara bidikti o ya e ka e la famina bolo wafle am formation fanam bidikod nga jibo nya formation bidikod bo wafiro laje and mbo la frim fenel so ni na da ya ko nyo cough syrup
And jama mo karaje bore sangola wala ke sambaje
ha ke sambaje
because he dalta ka paracetamol mi ay ko sumeyani ko banata nga paracetamol
ni modol ka kada musol ni nata wado pharmacy yalla professionally I'm a nurse I'm a nurse by training about some dan ke fenke nga fa ko ni na nga fa hani ta l'hôpital not ba yelo jibe la ba ku sisito do kelala ni mom min sotaje ina amur nanka ngo dinno musukonoma nta bugala fa tulu wala ko ngo ke ba menno e nyabele ku bele da bele e mi fo mbole kele e dum ke ba wa dinno ata fala no ite min ka amara ite le ka ku mo dol fono a sekino fo mata ba ni tara ni yelota ye kiskisiro ga a sekino masun nyimbe mako la min bala ayof dan ite la mirot
okay, abaka bake just briefly malam fo ila surwa ko fana
masanya bake
masanya bake do mo ndro surwa ko wala danding be na gesol fana ko man la mel bi janko ha so nga won tuti rek ci exercise bi Red Cross nekk di
jërëjëf comme bokka ñu den wax ci kala ma sos ak engrais mooy Red Cross lu ñoo def mooy dañoo dugg ci kër yi pour wàllu acquis mooy acute kidney injury bu jénne ci dëkk bi nii so suñu tànka lu ñoo def mooy dañoo dem ci kër yi pour mun a jëlaat garab yi ñu xam ne ñoo nekk di cause problème bi ci nit ñi après su nekkul su passé loolu tamit dañ dee mun a waxtaan ak nit ñi tamit lu ñoo mun a aar seen boppa ak lu ñu mun a def su fekkee dañ feebar surtout xale yi pour su xale yi feebaree nañ try ñu yóbbu leen ci lopitaan yu ñu jëkkee ngañ ne docteur yi ak lifin nañ leen mun a gis suñu leen gisee ba pare leen ñu mun a bind leen garab su garab boobu sax amul ci hospital leen nga mun a ñëw dem ci pharmacie fekka garab yi dañ la ko bindal nga jënde ko moo gën suñ feebaree rek jël xale yi rek yóbbu ko ci pharmacie
waram baax na nit ñi xam ne Red Cross volunteers yi di wóor ni dañ ñëw rek pour dimbale nit ñi so ku leen gis sa kër you know ñu la war rek nga def pour dimbale la
waaw tàngoor nag ba léegi buñ ko commencé ba léegi amuñ benn jafe-jafe ci loolu suñ demee ñeneen sax dañoo lu ñu am yëpp la ñoo jur isi ko non nit yi kay moom tàngoor def na li sant yàlla bu baax ñu ngi coopérate amuñ benn jafe amuñ ku duñ dugaa ni nga xam ne nit yi dañ mer o ñu saaga o non fu ñu duga rek nit yi sax dañ dee yaakamti so léegi-léegi balaa ngaa jeexal sa waaj nga gis ku ñëw rek jóor la mbuus bi rek waaw mu ne la garab yaa ngi ni so ngeen xool ñi nga xam ne ñoo amee this cough malings and then this grips and all that ñi nga xam ne ñoo lifin ngeen try recall ñoo yëpp
balaa ngaa dem rek am na la wax si Mandinka ma find ko very interesting just to wrap up nga ne yéena ci garab yi bokkul ci garab yi nguur ràññee maanaam nekkul si liste nguur it's quite disturbing
yeah xam nga government ñun dañ dee am lu ñuy wax seen essential drug list maybe if you contact the Minister of Health, they will be able to provide for you. Those are their priority medication that they normally bring for their medical health services. But going through those lists, most of these drugs that they are using are not part of that.
The reason I'm raising this, because the MCA boss, said this to one of our colleagues here when he interviewed her last week, I think. She said, these medicines were brought into this country, they were imported into this country legally, but they were not legally registered. And this is why I find it quite disturbing.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, but for that, I will never, when you say that they are brought into this country illegally, the MCA are the one supervising all the pharmacies.
Definitely.
So I think it should be a duty upon them to be going for routine inspections, especially with the importers, or I don't know, or whoever, these wholesalers, to make sure that their lists are always, anytime they bring this, they should share a list with the MCA, and the MCA should in fact make sure that every drug that comes to this country is fit for consumption. That one is not an excuse. We cannot take that as an excuse. It's not excusable.
Yeah.
And then, like many people are advocating, it's the same thought I'm having. If you go to all countries, they have fused the food safety and the drug. Why Gambia separating them?
I think Mr. Carr said that.
He just mentioned that.
Yeah, it's the same thought we all have.
Yeah.
We have to fuse it. You go to America, they say FDA. You go to Ghana, it's the Center of Food and Drug Safety. Many other countries. It's Gambia. Let us not be having many executive directors just to be paying people.
Definitely.
But let's try to form a standard unit that will serve the interests of the country.
So thank you very much, Mr. Sane. We appreciate your time. Thank you for coming. Yes. And hopefully we'll continue to engage you and the Red Cross. You guys are doing a great job. And we appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
And we go into the final itinerary for this morning. Yeah, it's Pink October. A lot of activities going on. And like I said earlier, we'll be engaging the Seed 3G Cancer Foundation. We'll be right back.
Save up to 50% energy with the new side-by-side Samsung refrigerator. Samsung air conditioners come with HD filter and antibacterial for your protection. Save time, energy, and effort by using our washing machines, loaded with innovative features that offer superior cleaning technology. Step into the future of television with our slick and slim Samsung Smart TV designs. Sizes range from 32 to 85 inches. Smart LED, Crystal UHD Ultra High Definition, and QLED Quantum Dark LED. Get new ways of interacting with your TV. Unparalleled vision, right from the comfort of your living room. Our products are backed with 1-year warranty. Visit us at QCell Building at Caraba Avenue or at Boosterview Turntable. Contact us on 333-3217 or email us at info@quantumnet.gm. As the fastest growing GSM company in the Gambia, QCell has the widest 4G plus coverage in the country, 3 times faster internet speed than our competitors. So switch now and dial *335# and enjoy what true 4G feels like. QCell, the Gambia's trusted network.
QCell, GSM company minna yirwa tariata Gambia Bankoka. QCell la 4G plus network o ye banko bela mura. Andung ala internet o tariata sidula saba katambi nyongola. Saung sahin, yesta 335# kumande. Yadati kemuna fang 4G sobe wala. QCell, Gambia la network lanna yare on.
Medicalia is a high-quality clinic from Europe, which is now in the Gambia. Do you have an eye problem? Do you feel a hearing difficulty? Medicalia is here to ease the pain for you. The first and only hearing aid dispensing facility nationwide, where patients can be tested and treated to recover from their hearing loss. Fitted with latest generation equipment, our doctors can provide healthcare assistance for eyes, ears, nose, and throat. Common diseases like glaucoma or diabetic retinopathy can be diagnosed and followed up for fast and correct treatment. Make your appointment with the eye or ear, nose, and throat ENT specialist today to relieve any pain you might be feeling, as consultants are available daily. Contact us for more information. Visit us at Tropic Shopping Center near Senegambia from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day of the week, or call us on 503-4411 or 7767-123. Medicalia, premium care, personal touch.
Welcome back from the commercial break. It's This Morning on QTV, and we head straight to the final segment on the program this morning. So earlier I did mention C3G Cancer Foundation. I mean, it's Pink October, and it's a whole month of activities. We have various organizations doing activities in, celebration of Pink October. But one foundation that is doing a great job out there is the C3G Foundation, Cancer Foundation, and we're happy to have them in the studio this morning. So we have Madam Somanjai, who is head of Alchemy. I hope I said that right.
Oh, no. I am actually one of the trustees for C3G. Trustees. So that's the hat I'll be wearing this morning.
There you go. And Professor Gabriel Ogun. We're happy to have you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good morning to both of you.
Thank you.
You look all pink this morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fully supporting the Pink October.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll be in
I don't have to
pink.
ask how she's doing. She's been smiling since I
Oh,
came. I love
the-
that.
oh, yes.
But Professor, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much
Okay.
for having us.
I hope you've had your breakfast already.
Yeah, we've had breakfast.
Ah, doctors
Thank you
have
so
their
much.
breakfast very early in the morning. Light breakfast.
Yeah,
That's
light
good.
breakfast.
But
Yeah.
let's talk about your foundation. You go first.
Oh, absolutely. Well, basically, it's a labour of love. The situation in the Gambia is quite dire as far as cancer. For such a small country, we have such a high incidence that it was something that our president, Dr. Abubakar Jah of Shara Clinic, decided to reach out to some of the people that he knew, doctors, other medics, like Madam Leila Trabulsi, Idi Job, by Marcin, in order to set up a charity that would be able to confront, console, and care for. That's where the 3 C's come from. So it's in that order: to confront, which is to raise awareness and to help prevent people from getting cancer; to care for those who unfortunately have the diagnosis, to have the worst news that I feel that you can. That you can have, and the consolation side. Unfortunately, not everyone wins the battle, but we felt that it was very much important for even those who reaching the end of their life to have the dignity that a life well lived deserves. So these were the core aims of C3G. So Pink October is the way that we can look towards breast cancer and cervical cancer, and every year this is when we really do a lot of our awareness raising, whilst people like the good professor here, Professor Ogun, are basically battering the hatches and making sure that we have things like the clinic, the diagnostic clinic, running throughout the year. So it's a good way of bringing those two things together. So I'm quite happy that we're here together today.
Before Professor comes in, earlier you said you're one of the trustees. Who are the other trustees?
Yes, well, the other trustees, we have a team of, I do believe, about 10 of us now.
It's growing, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, because I think there's so much work to do that it's difficult for anyone to do it as an individual. So, of course, Dr. Abubakar Jah is the president. He was the one who set it up. It's myself, Professor Ogun. It is Idi Job of Atlas Now Oryx. It is by Marcin. It is, if I forget anyone, please forgive me. This would be terrible, of course. It's Leila Trabulsi of Malak. It is Pa Usman. He's actually in the UK and does a lot of diaspora fundraising and does a lot of sort of community work here in the Gambian living in the UK. So together we decided to volunteer to set it up and to put all our various areas of specialisation to maximum effect, like from businessmen to dedicated medics, to myself who's a communication specialist, to make sure that we're kind of, putting our best foot forward. And we've been joined since then by a lot of the doctors under Professor Ogun and Dr. Jah, who stand with us in every way in order to make sure that the medical side of things is taken care of, that the advice that we give is correct, that the directions that we're going in are correct, that things like for the diagnostic lab, the machinery that we are using. Oh, and another trustee that we have is our Director of Medical here in the Gambia, Dr. Bitte. So that's obviously a very key person to add in there. So it's great that we can volunteer our time for something that has so much meaning and impact. And on a personal level, we've witnessed what the detrimental effects of cancer is. We're very, very fortunate to be able to afford to have treatment elsewhere, but it always made us think, why should we? Is there anything that we can do?
Exactly.
Taking small steps to build to bigger steps. So that's the.
Let's engage profession now. When and where was this foundation established, and have you been able to? What have you achieved? I'm sure there must have been,
achievements.
You must have registered some achievements.
Yes.
What have you been able to do since
Well,
established?
I joined C3G not too long ago because I've been in
Okay.
the Gambia for a very short time. I've
All
been
right.
just in the Gambia for about 1.5 years. And I think Soma might be in the best position. I know they do, I mean, they do outreaches, community outreaches. Recently, they launched, I mean, it was launched at the EFSTH, a diagnostic lab that has capacity to have chemistry, biochemistry, and some immunoassays testing that will be done free for cancer patients. So at no cost to cancer patients, because cancer care, cancer care is very expensive, and because you're in the Gambia, it does not mean the cost is going to be reduced for you, because it's a global disease. Support comes from diverse ways. The key to it is that you must first of all have diagnosis, and that's key, and also blood support, biochemistry in the body, and things like that. So C3G took a part whereby funding was got sponsored. I think it was the Japanese embassy that really funded that lab at the AFSTH. And I think from there, I mean, that's just an example of what I met on ground. I made the lab already made up when I joined the AFSTH. I'm a pathologist, so we are 2 pathologists only in the Gambia. Myself, I'm Dr. Usman Lee. Usman Lee is also a member of C3G, for your information.
Okay.
And the 2 of us have the burden of diagnosing cancers in the Gambia. That's quite challenging. We have a small population, yes, of 2 million, but from the statistics we've generated probably in the last 3 years, Usman Lee is a Gambian. He trained in Ghana. He was back in the country in 2019. And between 2019 and now, we've accumulated about almost 1,000 cases of cancer in the Gambia.
Of cancer?
Yes.
In Gambia?
In the Gambia, yes.
Wow.
Diagnosed histologically. There are some we diagnose clinically that we can't even biopsy, and those are the liver cancers. So it's the burden is quite heavy. That's just 3 years, but there has been a projection of we've had that we get to as much as 1,500 cases a year in the Gambia. So it's a dire thing. You know, countries emerge from an infectious disease background with improved lifestyle. Then you transit. I mean, we want good life, but the burden of good life also comes with its garbage. Cancer is one of the garbage of good life. So you discover that we diagnose people with breast cancer, for example. Since I got to the Gambia, I've diagnosed 20-something-year-old with breast cancer.
Lordy,
Yes.
I'm listening to Professor. I mean,
it's yes, 20
really
people in their 20s with cancers. Unfortunately, here in the Gambia, we do not have the spectrum of things. Of course, you have to even establish the diagnosis to know that there is cancer. So that is where myself and Dr. Lee comes in. We make the diagnosis. Then that's the first step in a very long journey. And that journey, most of the time, you can't complete it in the Gambia.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't have a radiation oncologist. We don't have radiation services here in the Gambia. None. Though we have diagnostic systems in the hospital, CT scan, MRI, and you have people in the private sector that have set that up, because you have to do so many components of this to make diagnosis. So the government is trying, but the government cannot do it alone. And also the population of the Gambia is poor. You are a poor person, you get cancer. It's as if it's a death sentence.
You know, Lordy, listening to Professor, I mean, it just hit me how important this foundation really is.
Definitely.
Maybe how expensive cancer treatment can be. I mean, those numbers he's giving us.
Those are real.
Numbers.
Those are facts.
Yes,
those numbers.
This is why I want to ask you. Sure. He just gave us statistics from 2019.
2019 to 2022.
Exactly. And you know, it's really huge. So what is your association doing to ensure that this is really mitigated? And what are some of the achievements that you have done so far?
Absolutely, like Professor Ogun had said, it's a slow and steady pace. One of the things that we've done is over the last 5 years, we've ensured that even at the point of setting up the foundation, just sitting down and saying, okay, what we're going to do, the first step is letting people know what cancer looks like, what the effects are, letting people know that there's a need for cancer services and for it to be holistic, as Professor Ogun
How
said.
effective was that?
We're proud to say that thousands of women have been screened by C3G alone. I know that a lot of institutions do various breast cancer awareness or cancer awareness programs, but it's something that we're proud to have said over the last 5 years that we have assisted thousands of women for free. We've been part of the organisation team that brought the mammogram machine a few years back to Banjul, where we did a 3-day event and screened, I think it was close to 500 women over those 3 days. And I'm proud that we add value by ensuring that we do things like cervical cancer screens, that we teach women how to do breast exams, for example, so that even after that day, they can spread the word to people who weren't there. And I think in the absence of having things like mammogram machines or, the equipment, there's a lot that we can be doing. And one of our mottos is nothing is the only thing that's too little to do in the fight against cancer. The awareness is almost as important, because we've seen people who arrive at our screenings who are so far gone that for us who are a bit more aware of what the signs and symptoms are, we wonder how someone could have even been living their daily lives in that condition. And that's one of the reasons that even though, whenever we discuss the consolation side of C3G, people are like, that's a bit depressing, let's not talk about that. But it is the reality. Not everyone gets help in good time, and not everyone is, even with the best equipment in place and the best doctors and the most caring sort of services holistically, can be saved. But we do believe that the dignity side of things, where you have the proper pain meds, where your family gets help and care to go through that process, and you get the sort of support that you need to have a dignified end of life, it is an important part. The diagnostic lab, though, on a more positive note, is one of our biggest achievements to date.
Wow.
As Professor, Ogun had
I'm a doctor.
had said, himself and Dr. Lee at Edward Francis Small have worked so hard over the last year and a half, I believe. Basically, I think you came to the Gambia and immediately jumped straight in there. So we're hugely grateful for that, for the two of them, along with Dr. Baba Jaju, I think, was pivotal with that also, where the diagnostic equipment is so important, not only to let people know that they have cancer, but during your treatment, it's a way of knowing whether things are improving, things are getting worse. And that, for me, is one of the hugest achievements. I know people who've waited for months to get a proper diagnosis. I know that, when we're being pulled here in the Gambia, you need to go to Senegal, you need to go to the States, you need to go to England, you need to go to Germany. That takes time to even get into those sort of systems. And I've seen people who've gone from noticing a small lump, who are aware at least of what the signs and symptoms are, moving to stage 4 when they can afford outside help. And I think that for me personally, the diagnostic lab is one of the key elements and the very, very start of the important work that we can do to really make a huge difference and to actually actively save lives.
That is really important. And it's Pink October, and your organization, that's C3G, is really doing series of activities. So what are some of the activities that you're carrying out during this month? And we know at some point organizations coming together, they have set agendas, they have goals, they have targets. We would like to know also, what are some of the goals and targets that you've put in place
Absolutely. So for this year, last year we were at Buyam, where we did the health screening, and that's what we do. Even though it's Pink October, we do focus on breast cancer, awareness of the signs, the symptoms, and do watch our space. We're very, very fortunate to have volunteers and people who work with us that are helping us put together our wonderful bank of knowledge. We're very fortunate to have so many medics on our team, so we're in a great position to be able to do things like showing people how to look after themselves, how to check for lumps, how to do a proper breast exam, how regularly they need to do it, information on what services are in country, because whilst we don't have enough, we do have some things where people can get professional help to be able to at least help move them along the journey quicker, and these are things that we find are super important. Things like the media tour that we're doing at the moment, and thank you so much this morning, and Q Group and Q Foundation, who've helped us be here in order to talk about the depth of the problem, because a lot of the time people don't really understand the numbers and understand why, that there's so many who are involved in Pink October, and how many lives have actually been touched by breast cancer and other cancers. This year we'll be at Bundung on the 29th of October. So from 10 a.m. onwards, we really, really urge that everybody who is able to come for a free breast screening. We know that there are others around, and whilst we were traditionally in Banjul quite a lot, we've decided since last year's Buyam that it was important to reach those who were travelling. I think we in one of our Banjul ones, I can remember speaking to a lady who travelled, I think, since the night before to ensure that she had a place when she'd heard about it on the radio. And that really touched us, and said, it's more convenient and easy. You can do bigger things here in Banjul, but how huge is it just to help people who don't usually have that local help, and to spread the word across the Gambia as far as we can. So this year we're in Bundung, again working with our wonderful partner Dr. Cham, who was always very, very helpful. He helped us at Buyam when he was there also. And last year we screened over 350 women in the one day. So this year we're hoping to smash that number.
Yeah.
And at least if you can't turn up, try and listen in to the media coverage. They just hear little snippets about how you can help yourself and other women, at least for the breast cancer side, and to hear a bit more about what the medical professionals can do, so that together we can give Gambia a bit of more of a fighting chance against cancer.
Yeah. So I mean, as you can see, those numbers Professor gave us really, quite disturbing, and it's. I'm just thinking. That's why I'm quiet anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's important. I know you do have this awareness raising activities sometimes, even like we're doing now. But I would want to see the foundation engage, in similar activities more. Engaging people, sensitizing the public.
Absolutely.
Because looking at these numbers he's giving us, you look at the population we have in this country. It's quite disturbing, I think.
Actually, it's quite disturbing. If you look at it in the concept, the cancers affect every age group, from children. So it's not only adults that cancer affects. It affects children. You can have cancer of the eye. Virtually every part of the human body has cancer. Skin, the brain, the eyes, blood, liver. In the Gambia, the commonest cancer we have is the liver cancer. Then, it's the largest. So they're followed by cervical cancer. And then you have breast cancer. Then you have prostate cancer, in that order. At least based on the statistics we have at Edward Francis Moore, and based on what the WHO and the International Agency for Research on Cancer projects for the Gambia. I would say liver cancer is preventable somehow, because if you have vaccination against hepatitis B, hepatitis C, then that can be prevented. Cervical cancer also is preventable. It's a preventable cancer. If you do pap smear screening and you do what is called human papilloma virus screening, and you get it, you have the virus, then you can ablate the cervix and the cancer will never develop. But for breast cancer, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't prevent it. At least those two, in the Western world, they are able to conquer those cancers somehow. The numbers for those from liver cancer through hepatitis B is almost 0. For cervical cancer, if you do regular screening, it's also 0. But you know, for screening, you have to always put in, if you screen people and you get them to have this, what are you going to do about it? We don't even have the capacity to do that here. So what we do most time is opportunistic screening that C3G does. It's what is called opportunistic screening. For example, breast, probably the reason, I mean, not probably, the reason why there is so much emphasis is that the breast is outside the body. And it's accessible. You can do a palpation on the breast, breast self-examination. It's quite a very, very, very important. But even by the time you pick a breast lump yourself, the disease has gone 50% of its lifespan.
Wow.
Yeah, 50% of its lifespan. So you discover that one has to be very, very observant of the breast. And there are different ways you can do that. You stand in front of the mirror, have a push out, look at the symmetry of the breast, make sure you are accustomed to your breast, and you palpate it in a circular fashion from out inside. I mean, that's just what I would tell people. I mean, just for enlightenment here. I mean, and that's the minimum one can do. Then you can do what is called, that's breast self-examination. You can do a clinical breast examination also, where you go to a health facility and they help you palpate the breast. And there are other modalities like mammogram, like ultrasound that you can also use on the breast. But you have to be wary that you have to have good professionals that know this. Because I know there are a lot of scanning centers, but not everybody that opens a scan center has the capacity to do these things.
Sure. And
that is very important. The teaching hospital in Banjul has been able to get a lot of professionals. I'm one of them, like the government of the Gambia recruited to come to the Gambia to help in development of postgraduate training and also help in diagnostic pathology and pediatrics. Some of the AKI cases we were discussing before, it was those recruited by the government that make sure those cases came up. And capacity is very important. But one thing as C3Gs, there are many philanthropists, there are many projects in EFS stage that can be done by philanthropists. And I think philanthropists or people who are well-to-do in the Gambia should do the needful to help the society.
Definitely.
The cost per head of when you go out to Senegal or go out to the Europe, and when you have the facilities in country, you can't compare it. If you have facilities in country, and you're able to bring down the costs, you remove the cost of air travel, remove the cost of living in hotels, and all those things. The cost per unit head reduces completely. And I mean, because you are poor does not mean you can't get cancer. Yeah, yes. And the cancer is quite diverse, as I said. The stomach, colon, everywhere. You can have cancer. And we see all that in the Gambia. So it's not as if. So breast, yes. The commonest one you see is liver, as I said, followed by cervical cancer. And I told you those two are preventable cancers in real sense. Then breast. Breast is not preventable. And you have breast cancer also in men and women. Now, the projections that I've given you are the minimum projections. But the numbers can even be higher than that because not everybody presents to a health facility.
Yes.
People.
In fact, talking about that, I was going to ask you, this is for the both of you. In the Gambia, we know people are not, people hardly go to hospitals for even normal, regular medical checkups. So how important is screening, as far as cancer is concerned?
Okay.
Yes, this is for the both of you.
Okay, as I said the other time, screening, you see, screening is a very, very technical thing. Very technical. Because when you screen people, you pick up things early. So what do you do after picking up the thing? If you don't have a system that does not care for after the screening when you get it, then why do you screen? So screening in the Western world, or even if you screen here, you must have a follow-up system. That you must be able to follow up the woman or a man that you've screened and you've gotten that this person likely has cancer. That means you are catching the person early, because the aim of screening is to catch the thing early and achieve cure. And I tell you, you can achieve cure. I have, in my practice over the years, I've seen women that survive breast cancer 20 years after breast cancer diagnosis. So it's possible for you, even in the developed world, I mean the developing world, to have good cancer outcome. Even if it's assumed that after 5 years there is no recurrence, the patient is virtually cured. Though I know recurrences can come as late as 10 years. So that's the aim. So screening is key. As I said, there are different levels of prevention of cancers, or any disease. In fact, you have primary, secondary, and tertiary. So the primary one is for you to have good habits, diet, exercise, just the general thing, eat green vegetable, less sugar, and things like that. So those are the things that are the primary level. If it's cervical cancer, just make sure you have protective sex and things like that. Don't catch HPV. I mean, you will not be able to catch HPV, but secondary level, then you can do the screening. You can test for HPV in the cervix. I'm a pathologist, they do pap smear, they send it to us, we look at it. If there's a problem, we flag it, send it to the gynecologist, and they're able to progress on that. So the different cancers, some cancers there is nothing you can do. It comes and that's it. For men, some are associated with age. For example, prostate cancer, usually associated with age in men. As they get older, the risk is there. A man will likely, if you are by the time you get to your 80s or 90s, you will develop a prostate cancer ultimately. Yeah. Even if it's not clinically present to you. By the time somebody is 90 years old, you have prostate cancer. It might be indolent and in the background there. So the risk factor is age for some. Sure. And you discover that the array of cases you see, some of it deserve research. For example, I see a lot of very young women develop breast cancer here in the Gambia. And that's worrisome. I've had 22, 24, 25, 26.
That's young.
That young, yeah. I developed breast cancer. So, and I've diagnosed those ones, myself and Dr. Lee at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. So what causes that? Usually when you have people that are young, there's a genetic problem somewhere.
I wanted to know what causes that. Yeah.
Well, cancer is a genetic disease. There are controls that stop the cancer from developing. The body has a natural way of doing that. But when those controls go haywire, and that's how cancers develop. So ordinarily, cancer are genetic diseases. You have to understand the pathogenesis or how they develop. There is nothing you can do at the level of the gene, unless you do what's called gene editing. I mean, those are what people do in the Western world. But I also discovered, we also know that cancer also cluster in families. Sure. We know in Banjul, we have some families that have a mutation of a specific mutation that is carried through families. And they are present in Banjul. We have, I know some of my colleagues have told me they have some BRCA, we call it a BRCA mutation, that clusters in families in Banjul. And that's some areas of research that is available. But we have not even done the basic things. So where are we going to the highfalutin things? Okay, so so if you have a young person who develop cancer, the onus is on us to try and screen for those genetic markers that might be hereditary in them. Some are sporadic, you don't need anything, it just comes, nobody knows why. The risk factors that occurs in the Western world is different from the risk factors that occur here, and we have to understand that. So it's a very tricky, tough terrain, and you can imagine some governments pump billions into cancer research. So I mean, people are trying to defeat cancer, people can survive cancer.
So that's where I want to engage Madam Soma, your organization, what are you doing to engage the government? Because we've seen global declaration on cancer that they have to put pressure on the government, policymakers, health sector to ensure that the burden on cancer is being managed. So what, at your level, what are you doing to engage the government?
Well, in fact, when you consider some of our executive members, we're actually in a fantastic position. Not only those who are some of the very few people in country who we're fortunate enough to have who are capable of the clinical and I don't know what the word is. Is it
diagnostic?
Diagnostic side of things. Thank you. Diagnostic side of things, but also people like Dr. Bitte, who are well placed to be able to engage with the government directly. The Ministry of Health, for example, is one of our partners for the screening, and we always ensure that any findings that we have are properly recorded, properly reported, properly followed up, and it means that we're basically doing small batches of research, shall we say, even small things like ensuring that our team, that the doctors are discussing amongst each other, like some of the findings that Professor Ogun and Dr. Lee find, they discuss. Imagine if we could gather more medical professionals. We have teachers who teach at the university. So this is the new sort of batch of doctors are being loaned the knowledge that those who are on the ground, and I think that that's something that's so important. It's not as kind of sexy to discuss when it comes to fundraising, but it's such a key way of ensuring that, you know, our localized instances of cancer are discussed, or the causes, the root causes are sort of managed. But of course, as you say, we work together hand in hand with the government, and we have executive members who are high level in the government, who sit on our board, who we discuss in you know, very frank terms together what we can do. And you know, one thing that I find is in everything that I do, I can't rely on the government. That's not what the government's set for. Those of us that can should and must do what we can. If it's something as little as I'd sit at home listening to me speaking in English and translate it to my grandma in another language, that's doing a lot.
Sure.
If it's something like I learn how to do a breast exam, or I come and speak to people that I know, the smaller things, if I have $5 and I donate to help someone, you know, there's been instances where we've sat on the board where we hear in the hospital rumours of someone who has an instance of cancer. We've treated and found funds to ensure that we treat, you know, we've had from very young children to you know, pregnant women. That's part of the work that we do. It's kind of like we're fighting on so many different fronts that there's not enough that we can do. But as they say, bulen heb lundaw lolen amuna def. Like lolen amuna def. Nyen wa, nyen share, nyen you know, joining hands together. There's 2.5 million of us. If we all did a little something, I think we'd go a long, long way in a very, very short time.
Then let me just dip in just briefly.
I'm being notified we'll run out of time.
Oh, okay,
we'll have less than a minute to wrap up.
But then, I mean, this is important, and we would endeavor to have you here again, possibly next week.
Sure.
You know, especially ahead of the event that you're doing on the 29th, because this is important, and you know, I understand QCell is also one of the sponsors.
Absolutely.
But you know, we would endeavor to definitely contribute our part as well to this, because it's important, and hopefully we would engage you next week, possibly. But we appreciate your time. I mean, Soma, Professor, we're very much grateful that you honored our call and you came. And we look forward to engaging you more next week. So until then, thank you for being with us. Bye-bye.
Is a leading European brand which is now in the Gambia. Are you looking for glasses? Then you have come to the right place. As a first step, we will perform an eye exam to ensure we prescribe the correct lenses for you. After that, you can select a frame of your choice. We have a variety of brands in stock, and you will definitely find yours. You can have the full package of Frame Plus lenses starting from $990 up to more for the most fashionable options. Once you find a frame you like, your lenses will immediately be edged by our lab technician. Within 30 minutes, you will be able to leave with your prescription glasses and a huge smile on your face. How amazing is that? Visit us at the Tropic Shopping Center, near Senegambia from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day of the week, or call us on 503-4411 or 7767-123.